want a sandwich. Now. Oh, sandwich wench. Yo, wench. Sandwich. Now. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. Sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. A sandwich. A sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. Sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. A sandwich. Oh, sandwich wench. I want a sandwich. Sandwich. Hello everyone, welcome back to another whatever stream on this is on the Moistski Live channel, because I've completely cocked this up. Joining me to discuss some politics and no doubt just Boris is my scrumptious, delicious host, co-host, TrupsLP. Say hello, Trups.
Hello, Trups.
How's Trups?
I'm doing all right. You know, I've been knee deep in playing Elden Ring constantly. So
Oh, you do have to do that if you want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a grind game from what I've noticed.
Oh, but it's so much fun. Like, every day I'm actually excited to come back and play
honestly,
it.
I'm a bit jealous in that respect. I don't have time to play that game.
Yeah.
The only time I get to get really invested in games are ones where I know where the end is and it's attainable within a period of time. As opposed to Elden Ring that seems to look like it goes on forever. They're like Cyberpunk, I can't play it because it would take too long to get through, I find. And I'd want to play it forever, if I could. It's that kind of game, I've noticed people get really addicted to it. I'm very jealous.
Oh, absolutely it is.
I'm jealous. So what's Trups been up to since we haven't been here for 2 weeks? What has Trupsy been up to?
Well, besides that, besides just playing Elden Ring, I've been doing work.
Yeah.
July is actually a month where I don't go to many places. So
how was your 4th of July?
Handy. So my 4th of July actually was kind of boring, and the reason why was because around 2 or 3 o'clock, it was super, super rainy and major thunder going on. So that was really kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to go out and actually see the fireworks like I had wanted to.
Oh, you should just see what iShowSpeed put out, and everyone saw it on Twitter. I see a Pikachu firework. He lit a firework in his bedroom, a Pikachu one, and then he freaked out.
Oh, I did see that.
I got a copyright claim on This Week at Twitter because of it, and I had to re-upload the video where I essentially cropped it down to 3 bits of him screaming with the firework going off, with me calling him a colossal twat every single time. And then telling anyone to copyright claim it, I dare you, because now it falls well within fair use, because I used 6 seconds worth of his video. Get wrecked, bitch. Get wrecked, you silly bitch. Who lights a firework in their bedroom?
I have no idea.
Like,
but,
why? You still there?
Yeah, I was trying to hear back. I was listening to what Jake had said.
Oh, you're right. Your mic's got cancer. You're all good.
What?
You sound fine to me. You sound fine to me. You're all right. It's all right. It's okay. It's also because, and to Jake, I'll explain. I had to drag the audio down, so I don't know where the correct level is for him, I'm afraid. Whereas I keep presetting it, and then I have to keep adjusting it. I keep forgetting to take a screenshot, and then when I go and edit the audio to put it on Spotify, hello everyone in the chat, by the way, I end up forgetting to do it, and it ends up sounding like absolute shite. Sorry about that, folks, but that is part and parcel of this game. Also, I think because we do this on Discord, and the audio never comes through well on Discord, we really should be doing it on a different platform, but we keep forgetting.
I mean, do you got a better option?
Apparently, the other Zoom ones do better audio quality for some reason.
Interesting.
I'll have to look at it at some point next week, maybe, or the week after. I don't know. We'll look into it. We'll look into it.
Yeah, we'll play around.
So beyond work and everything, anything else going on? Streaming
Not
much,
really.
perhaps?
I'm not actually, but I'm probably going to start doing that again because I started thinking about like, oh, I could be playing Elden Ring on stream. Why am
You
I not doing
should, because you get to talk to the chat when you remember, and it's a good game. People do well
that?
on
Yeah,
that.
true.
So is
What
that
about you? What have you been
well?
up to?
Everyone knows I obviously last week couldn't stream. Well, I could have actually because I got back on Friday, but I decided my voice was at that point, so there was no point. I on Thursday travelled to the Principality Stadium in Wales, the largest gig I've ever been to. The capacity of that stadium is 70,000 or 75,000. There were a lot of people there. Let's say about three. Let's say Stan, as far as the seats go, there was a fair chunk not filled, but those were not filled for reasons. Some were behind the stage, and two corners. The floor was jam packed. It was heaving. I queued for an hour just to buy a shirt, which I've got. Not the one I wanted, but I got a shirt. And the concert itself was amazing. I'm going to compile all the video I got. When the gig started, they literally said, please don't record the gig. So naturally, I recorded some songs. I'll play it on Thursday on my server. If you're a patron and you want to join, do so, because I'll play... I think I've got about 30 minutes worth of music we can go through, and fireworks and just, fun, from a concert that's 2.5 hours long. That's all right.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be too terribly upset.
Yeah. We drank a considerable amount with my dad and his partner, and my friend Dave and I, who we streamed the night before on this channel. It's called the Cthulhu and Friend Show, #1, Drinks with Dave. Or Drinks with IRL friend Dave, because he was just sat next to me. And then I listened to it back and realised that motherfucker sat right next to me and his voice does not carry at all. He has no, he doesn't have a higher volume setting unless he's talking about something he really loves, like whiskey.
I see.
He doesn't.
Did he get progressively louder over time?
Only when he mentioned certain whiskies. Otherwise, he was fairly quiet. And I think that's because he's not used to, you have to, when you're a streamer, when you're a content creator, you've got to project your voice. You have to emphasis on certain bits. It's part of the job. That's fine. He doesn't know this. But we drank a lot on the way back. We drank a lot the night before. We drank a fair bit when we were there. It was a good time. The music was great. I slept really badly because I was literally in a driver's seat, leaned back. It was horrendous in a camper RV. Dave had a decent sort of sleep. I had 2 hours. And you'd think when I got home, maybe after a decent rest, I'd sleep well. Like fuck did I? I slept for about 4 hours and I was fucking tired. All right? I barely slept at all. It's been a bit... But yeah, this week, because of my voice issues, it's not been great. Streaming has been a bit hard. And videos have not sounded as good. But that's all right. I'm going to try and rest it over the weekend, do some work, building work mostly, and hopefully we shall, this time next week, sound better. By the way, and just because this entertains me, I love comments. I really do. I reply to everyone on Omegon 2 Electric Boogaloo. I read all the comments on Omegon because I get a lot more comments that I can't reply to all of those. On this channel, I get some comments. And more recently, those comments have taken a form of shitting on me. Now, I don't mind that, because usually Trups used to get all the crap. But I've got people here talking about how I got sucked into the false framing of what a justice said. I've got others talking about, my banal commentary would be more tolerable at a lower volume. Thank you. You're English, you have abortion, and then goes on to tell me about intricate laws in abortion law to then tell me I know jack shit. Thank you. I'm not an encyclopedia on UK law. I just go by what I know. But thank you for being so autistic that you have to tell me every minute detail. I can tell you don't have much of a life with the comments like that. And my banal commentary, thank you. Banal, for those who don't know, means unoriginal. Yes, he could have written unoriginal. I was responding to Prime Minister's questions. What were you expecting? For me to insert mellifluous? Fucking twat.
Is this a collection of different comments, or is this all on one video?
No. These are multiple streams for the last 4 weeks. I've been getting shat on, and I love it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Fucking love it, because none of you are here to say it when I'm live. You fucksticks only do it when it goes on playback, and every time it's the same type of comment. Oh, you know something, but this is the intricate part. Oh, you're not very clever, are you? Of course I'm not. This is commentary. I'm not Wikipedia. And by the way, that's not indicated. Anyway, hello everyone. Yes, I do see you all. Please smash the like or dislike, whichever you prefer. If I've dumped on you, get fucked. If I haven't, I'll get to you later.
He doesn't, I do.
Autism from the internet, that never happened. I know, right? Who would do that on the internet? But anyway, yes. So obviously Boris is going to be the main topic. It has to be. There's no avoiding it. But let's talk about America first, because not that part, but let's talk about the United States of America first, as opposed to the movement America First, unless you want to talk about America First.
Trups. I don't even know what that means. So
America First.
I know what America First is, but I don't care enough to actually get
I get you. That's what I was just being a dick. No. So what's been going on in the United Federated States of America?
Well, so the vast majority of information going on about America has been sort of revolving around the fact that midterms are coming up. Biden's job ratings are in the shitter.
Yeah.
We still have inflation. We're sending oil overseas to Europe, and just today, he signs an executive order, basically trying to put a Band-Aid over the Roe v. Wade impact. So, according to CNN, I have an article here pulled up. Joe Biden basically had made done a press conference and tried to, and I quote from this article, attempt to safeguard access to medication, abortion, and emergency contraception, protect patient privacy, launch public education, as well as bolster the security of and legal options available to those seeking and providing abortion services.
Yeah.
So, as I had mentioned to Meg before we had started the stream, executive order is putting a Band-Aid on the problem. Even Biden admits correctly that in order to safeguard what abortion rights Roe v. Wade and Casey had kept in place, he would need a law written by Congress.
He would,
but. Oh, absolutely. Executive orders are the way that we were taught them in school is they are direction on how to implement law, not creation of law.
Okay.
By itself. So that's kind of the way that executive orders are supposed to work. And in this case, what he can do is he can assign Health and Human Services to expand access to emergency contraception, long-acting reversible contraception like IUDs, trying to ramp up outreach, public education efforts, to tell people what rights they do and do not have.
That makes sense to let them know. Can I just, before you talk about this further, so this has happened under Biden's watch. If this had happened under Trump, they would have blamed Trump, wouldn't they? Why is no one looking at Biden and going, this happened under your watch?
Which part?
The whole Roe v. Wade thing. Because this would have been, Trump would have been railed for this.
Well, I think the reason why you see nobody blaming Biden is because the 3 justices that Trump was allowed to appoint were able to swing the leanings of the court politically into a more conservative side. Okay.
So I guess I mean, you must know this more than I do, but what about the other ones? How many were Democrats that voted for it or against it?
So it was a 6-3 decision.
Right.
So that was Thomas, Kavanaugh, I believe.
Thank you. Roberts, no reason for the donation.
Thank you. I believe Roberts was a begrudging acceptance. And then you had Alito. And I can't think of the other ones.
Okay.
But I know that I think Stephen Breyer was one of the 3 Democrats who didn't go for it, but it was a 6-3 decision, which is obviously very an important number considering the 3 justices that Trump had appointed.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Please continue. I do apologize for the interruption.
That's all right. So the other things that they're trying to do is they're trying to do protection on patient privacy.
Right.
So there have been some people like on my Facebook who have been telling each other to stop using like menstrual cycle tracking apps because if your cycle is off, their presumption is that they could the authorities could use that information as a means to investigate whether or not you had an abortion. I'm not so sure. That seems that seems like a very, very like conspiratorial way to think about it.
I didn't know you had apps that could track menstrual cycles.
People do that just for their own sake.
Obviously, I'm male. Of course, I don't know this.
It's just, I mean, that's fair. Yeah. I don't understand necessarily, but I can see why they would want to do that.
Yeah, I get it. Not against it, to be honest, either. Yeah. Oh,
but basically, the idea is they wanted to ensure that HIPAA laws applied in this case.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Even using that kind of app.
Oh. Right. So just for the sake of clarity, because I might have misunderstood you, people using such an app to track their own menstrual cycle couldn't care less. That's your business. If the government's involved in that, I'm not such a fan.
Well, the idea is that yes, if you're having a regular cycle, that is one reason, but even still, that would be a major problem. But the point isn't that the authorities are going to use this information
right
to prosecute. It's the concern that individuals have that one could. The authorities could use that information.
Yeah, that's not good.
To prosecute if they were to, but as Allison mentioned, imagine being someone with a regular cycle.
Yeah, no, right? that government should never be involved in that.
Correct. And that's one of the parts of the executive order. They want to ensure that kind of information stays private and that states
that's fair.
Can't use that information to prosecute.
Maybe they should let Apple run it then, because the government can't seem to crack Apple phones without the consent of Apple, and Apple won't let them. I love that. As much as I shit on Apple for their products, the fact they value their customer security is and protect data protection is leagues above others. I'll give them credit for that, because the shit they've caused the FBI before, I've heard about it. But they couldn't break into someone's phone, give us the password. No, we ain't giving you shit. It's not your phone.
A fun story. You can. It is actually safer when, in America at least, it is actually safer to not have biometrics on your phone.
Yeah, because you just push them against it.
Because they don't actually need your consent to use your biometrics.
Yeah.
But they do need your consent to use a password.
That's fair. That's where the issue is. I do have biometrics on my current phone, but thankfully I'm not. I don't really. Yeah, I don't. No, I just.
Well, I don't even know if your laws apply the same.
No, our laws are very different. They could crack our phone in a heartbeat.
But yeah, so that was one of the things. I actually agree with that one, because I don't think that government should have access to that anyway.
By the way, people keep calling me right wing. Would this make me right wing? Just curious. Just a curiosity. Me, the individual's right to personal data protection stuff. Does that make me right wing? No. Okay. Cool.
Yes, in some cases.
Oh, god damn it! I must be one. IR Republic.
Okay. Are you an American right wing or a British right wing? It's very different.
Apparently, British right wing is somewhat more left leaning anyway. Have you seen the thing online at the moment? People are talking about the New World Order, but they've changed new for liberal world order.
Yeah, well, Biden said that.
Yeah, ever since World War II or something, the world has been liberal world order, and there's a point to that, because everyone's afraid of going that far, going too far to the right. But now they're so willing to go too far to the left, they've not realized they're swinging back to the right.
Oh yeah, I mean when you think about like
off to the gulags.
well, I mean, if you talk about extremists, right? Like the extremists on left and right are both very interested in the personal right to having a firearm for the same reason. In fact,
I'd rather have a sword, but yes.
Well, I mean, they're interested in protecting against a tyrannical government.
I will
The
with my
form
sword.
that tyrannical government takes is the different image, right?
Yeah.
And that's what, ironically, the two sides very much agree in. They will never accept that, but also, if you want to go with racism, the far left and the far right also very much agree for the wrong reasons. White nationalists, white supremacists would say that whites and colored people should not be in the same place. Meanwhile, the left wing is like they should have their own safe spaces away from the white people, and so everyone's like, "Well, I kind of agree." At least on those two extremes. Everyone in the middle is like, "Can't we just get along?"
That's me most of the time, to be honest. Like,
That's how I feel.
I normally think that a lot of the issues people argue over are quite trivial. And as all has mentioned here, conservatives here have been trying to take it away. In the UK, they have been trying to do that. The whole internet anonymity thing. My view is, this is very trivial shit. No, you shouldn't take away internet privacy. You can't claim you're doing it to protect the people. You're doing it to control the people, to herd the people, to tell them what they can and can't look at. There are some things, of course, they shouldn't look at, and that usually involves things that involve kids. I fully agree with that. Bestiality.
Actually, I think Lindsey Graham had introduced something similar to that. He wanted a internet privacy bill. I think he had introduced it at some point. I remember talking about it, and basically he was trying to make it the ISP's responsibility to curb information like child exploitation and similar such content.
So when are we finally going to see Desmond is Amazing off the internet then?
Well, see, now that's where it gets confusing because, okay, so then at that point you're telling the internet service providers to become the spies, right? Which, I mean, they have the ability to.
To an extent, yes. I think another sense is they're fobbing the buck, passing the buck on to another person.
Yeah.
And terms of service are important with all platforms, all providers, and it's then if they use their rules in a nebulous manner, that's the only way they get around it. Which is what they'll do.
Every time I look at some of these bills, and I notice like the intentionally vague language, right? Like they'll use a subjective word, like we'll use cantankerous, for example, offensive.
Oh yeah.
Offensive to, and by what?
Grossly offensive is usually what it is as well, isn't it?
Right. Australia tried to do something similar just with anime.
It was a lolly, wasn't it?
Probably. But it wasn't, I don't even think it was, I think it was something like Attack on Titan that was like, it was inappropriate for children because I don't think this person realizes that not everything animated is for children.
I don't know what Attack on Titan or Off Titan is.
It's Attack on Titan is an anime where it's gory in a sense.
Okay, well that I'm not going to watch it anyway, but thank you for that. I do appreciate the information.
Yeah. But that was one of their issues with it. I mean, yeah, it's like not everything that's animated is for kids, as much as the old company 4kids.tv. That used to be the American anime publisher.
Yeah.
That did like Saturday morning cartoons. They try to push that kind of stuff too, but I don't understand because this is the part of the conservative movement that I hate. I don't want you so much to be like, oh, we must protect the kids from themselves. In case of anime, in the case of video games, and in this case, I've actually had the argument with R-rated movies too.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the biggest arguments that I had was with Squid Game because there was a bunch of teachers that were complaining that their kindergarteners and first graders had watched Squid Game and they were playing, games like that on the playground.
I've not seen Squid Game.
And they were up, and it's basically like children's games that end in death if you lose.
Like
and the
Saw?
winner, yeah, basically, except Korean.
Okay. But that doesn't make it any better or easier.
Right.
All
but
right.
I remember reading this whole post, and this woman basically going off about how these kids shouldn't be watching this kind of stuff, and I go, okay, explain to me why. Explain to me why a kid should not watch this. And they say, well, they don't fully understand what's happening. And I go, true. Have you told them what's happening?
They don't understand the consequences of it either.
Well, that's fine.
In this
but then
instance,
you go, look at the box.
You can try and say, "Oh, we'll ban it," but the onus in that instant isn't on the platform; it's on the parents who let them watch it.
Yeah, and I've had the argument with parents too. I've had the argument. I'm like, why does it matter if a kid watches an R-rated movie? Like, let's just say like a 10-year-old watches a horror movie.
I mean, let's go with Deadpool. It's the safe bet. It's an R-rated movie. It's safe-ish.
Sure.
Lots of blood.
Yeah.
Lots of death.
So many people were so confused that was an R-rated movie. They were like, I can't believe I took my kid to this. I'm like, I can't believe you didn't realize it was what Deadpool was.
I still cracked up, right? And I love the Deadpool movies so far. I'm looking forward to the third one. That's probably the last hero movie I'll watch. The second one, when they did the promo for it, with that cringy music of him getting changed in the phone box to then that higher and higher song running across the street to the guy being dead. That was so funny. I loved it. I'm sorry. It's the cringy music. It really helps.
But basically, more to my point, so that we can move on to a different topic.
Yeah, go on.
Is if you don't explain to the kids what it is that they're seeing and what it is that is the difference between what happens on TV and what happens in their real life.
Yeah.
In my opinion, there's no difference than, you see kids playing Squid Game and they're, pretending to shoot their friends. All right, explain to me how that's any different than them playing, cops and robbers back in the day. Like, so you telling me that they didn't know what gun was back then?
That wasn't really a thing much when I was a kid. Cops and robbers, it's more British Bulldog or It or Dodgeball. In the chat, the
racist version is Cowboys and Indians.
I've heard about that. So Alfonso in the chat mentions the only movie that traumatized me as a kid was Watership Down. I've never seen Watership Down. The one that traumatized me, I saw when I was like 5 years old or 6 years old or something. It was Predator, the first one.
Okay.
I was too young to understand why I saw someone flayed. I just saw blood everywhere, someone appear out of nothing, a jump scare. I was 5. I should never have seen that movie. Jaws almost got me with the guy's head out of the porthole as you're underwater. Yeah, that or the T-Rex ripping someone in half in Jurassic Park. These kind of movies.
Those are PG-13 movies.
Yeah, that was a bit gory, by the way. I got ruined by those movies when I was younger. I was genuinely terrified. But I would never. If my sisters are smart, they learnt this as well. Alfonso, thank you for becoming a Moistonian citizen. We really appreciate it because we want your money, and we obviously appreciate the support as well. But I found that there was clearly something wrong here. I shouldn't have been introduced to these movies, but it was definitely a different because they were my parents that made me. I got to see this with. It was my aunt, my uncle, one of them anyway, and two technically. And I think it's different parenting. That really plays a part. My parents weren't necessarily protective, but my mother wasn't stupid. My sisters are very protective. These kids will never see these kind of movies yet. And I didn't see Hellraiser until about a year ago, Fubar. So,
have you ever seen the video of like I think there may be like 13, 14-year-olds who watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre? No. And then the dad comes in with a chainsaw with the chain removed and the Leatherface mask in the middle of the night to horrify their children.
No.
It's hilarious.
Send it to me.
Okay. That's a great fucking video. It's hilarious, and it's that lovely amount of like parental trolling that ends in trauma.
That's the kind of trolling where it's like, now you understand why you shouldn't have seen this movie.
Yeah.
Art imitating life. I can appreciate that. So just because I don't want to move on, I want to talk about something else in the UK relevant. We've tried to introduce licenses, as we always do. Remember when we had one for porn, and they couldn't get it through the Child's Internet Safety Bill or whatever it was called, to protect the kids, basically. And it fell flat with the Conservatives because turns out you can't control the internet. And I pointed this out. How do you control an internet when you can't even ban VPNs? You can't do it. I'm sorry, but you can't stop us from doing shit. Don't try and tell me you can. Oh, if the world unites. No, VPNs will still be fine. We'll all just relocate to Antarctica, alright? There is no version of this where you can actually police the internet. Stop it. The onus is on the platforms, yes, and on the parents. It is not on what you determine for us to be able to see. And when they try to introduce these bills and force through all these extra measures, like literally applying for a license to be able to look at adult content, I'm sorry, but no. No.
I mean, what it basically comes down to is politicians believe that they're better than you.
Well, they always do, don't they?
They have the ability to decide what's right for you because you're too stupid to do it yourself.
You're right.
That's what they think.
They do, and it's quite embarrassing, to be honest.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that I've seen how they pretend to know what they're doing, and it's embarrassing from a citizen's perspective to watch such incompetence on a political scale because high school fucking drama. I don't like that guy, so yeah, I don't wanna. Okay, throw your tantrum in the corner, and I guess don't work together to make the country a better place. Good for you, I fucking guess.
Yeah, basically.
Unfortunately, that's just the nature of politics. It has always been the same kind of high school bullshit. And in general, even the Boris Johnson resignation that we'll talk about later, I still think that's bullshit.
It is.
Like, I get it.
Yeah.
But it's still bullshit.
There are some aspects of this that really don't help Boris. And it doesn't. He has made this so impossibly frustrating. Like when he got into office, I was very vocal in my support because he said he'd get Brexit done. He did, and eventually he got it done. And people are saying we're not doing as well and blaming what's currently going on in the world on that. But the EU themselves are suffering as well, so you can't tell me we'd be better with them. The world is genuinely struggling right now because of a number of issues. And I think it's not going to get any easier because of what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. But Boris, his is interesting because this has been going on it's been going on ever since he took office. There have been issues. When he first came into office, he prorogued Parliament for 5 weeks to try and force Brexit through. The Supreme Court here said, fam, that ain't good. Get back in Parliament and do your job. And then everything he tried to push through, he lost on. He lost nearly every single vote for the first couple of months. And then at the 11th hour, he finally got a deal through Parliament because they had no bloody choice. They had to accept it. It wasn't a great deal. It was better than Theresa May's. But Boris repeatedly broke the rules in that time to get this through. And that did not help him. You had the fact that when he was in office, he had one MP break the lobbying rules, breaching the ministerial code. Boris's response was to instead try and change the rules about lobbying instead, which I thought was a pretty shitty thing to do.
Can you give me the quick recap? Which one was that?
Well, you're not allowed to promote companies that you benefit from.
Fair point. Fair enough.
This guy was benefiting monetarily from the companies he was lobbying for. You can't do that. Not in our parliament.
I was going to say, I feel like that's just standard practice. I don't agree with it, but it's standard practice.
It's standard practice. He broke the rules, and he resigned. Boris, though, paused an inquiry into that guy. Investigation. He voted to pause it. Like, holy crap, that's conflict of interest, and you know it. This time, okay, so let's talk about the fact that he had Partygate, he got fined. I will concede, Boris was only ever seen once for the briefest of moments, and then he left again. He knew about it, yes, but he didn't stick around and have a party. He clearly didn't. But he got fined for it. Move on. Well, he got caught out twice, actually. So then you come to the fact cost of living's gone right up. Inflation's at 9.1%. Fuel has almost hit, I believe, close to nearly $10 a gallon now.
Ugh, that's disgusting. I can't even imagine what that would be like. I filled up my tank just with $20, and it got me like 4 gallons.
So my sister filled up her car earlier. It cost her close to nearly £100, which is about double to what she used to cost her.
That's atrocious. Yeah. That is actually disgusting.
It is.
And £100 is like $160.
Well, the government said they'd cut fuel duty by 5 pence. So what did the fuel companies do you think?
I don't know, raise the rate?
By 5 pence, yes.
Jeez.
Yeah, that was fucking genius. This tells you who's in actual charge.
It was a 1.2. It's a 1 to 1.2 conversion.
That's fine. It doesn't matter. It's still a large conversion. Our economy's not that strong at the moment, so we're quite close, which benefits me because I get paid in US dollars converted to pounds. So I get paid better when our pound is weaker. Obviously with the cost of living going up, doesn't help us in the slightest. Inflation doesn't help. The issue with Ukraine and Russia doesn't help because our government is very much at the front of let's supply them with everything. Not the $750 billion they say they need to repair their country. Fuck that. We don't have that money. But then you have Chris Pincher. Chris Pincher was and is an MP for the Conservative Party. Chris Pincher has been known, and I'll quote the Prime Minister, as being very handsy. Chris Pincher got incredibly...
a terrible name for that kind of a complaint.
Oh, a somewhat ironic one. He then he got pissed, and he touched a male employee, person, I don't remember which. Originally, he placed his hand on their bottom, and then he moved his hand around to the front without any consent given. So what do you suppose is the real problem with this beyond that? Because there's another issue. And this is what sealed the deal for Boris's career being over.
I don't know.
Boris knew.
I mean,
he was told about it. And he responded with, he's always been handsy. Allegedly. But Boris then had, our PMQs, this week, Chancellor of the Exchequer Rishi Sunak, former, and the Home Secretary Sajid Javid. No, is he home or is he foreign? No, he's home. No, is he? You know, I can't remember because Priti Patel's one of them as well, but she's still there. So Sajid Javid, Rishi Sunak resigned and put their letters on Twitter. I actually put their letters in our Discord server, archive tweets, along with another person who was an undersecretary, and he knew from 2019. Yeah, 2019. Thank you, Leona. In 2019, Boris knew about this. And two resignations started a ball here. Well, I had said that when Boris won his vote of no confidence, he wouldn't last more than a month. That's what I said, and I was right. Because Theresa May survived one and didn't get 6 months, and she had a bigger majority than Boris. And so after those two resignations from his front bench, over 50 people resigned before he did. And at that point...
Saw that.
Yeah, there were a lot of them. And I was going to get all their letters on Twitter as well, and I thought, well, what's the fucking point? Like, really, what's the point? So, yesterday, I sat here at my desk getting ready to do EOSP, and my friend Ash, she had messaged me. My sister, when I was eating breakfast, said, by the way, Boris might be resigning. I went to Twitter, and sure enough, there it was. Ash had also messaged me and said Boris is resigning, and I sat at my computer at midday OBS on, screen recording his resignation, which then became yesterday's exhibition of stupid people. Because as much as people don't like me talking about politics on the main channel, and it's reflected in the views, it had to be, because this one is so dumb, and no point... Okay, so when you resign, you have to acknowledge your failings. Boris didn't. He didn't acknowledge he did anything wrong at all. He never had, and that's the biggest problem he's got. He has never simply said, sorry. He's always said, I'm sorry that this happened. Not, I'm sorry, the buck stops with me. He's always said, sorry that that happened. Never taking responsibility for what he did. And that's become his undoing. And so yesterday at midday, he resigned. I will give him credit. No tears, no upset, no pain. He just knows how to deliver a speech. But he survived less than Theresa May. The only good thing he did, really, was Brexit. And I still support Brexit being done. I don't care. Things aren't great at the moment. Everyone is paying the price right now. Being the EU would not have changed that. Especially right now, anyway. But they have, as you've mentioned in the chat, Ola, a number of spending issues. The Conservatives spent far too much. They can brag about unemployment, but in the grand context of what you've accomplished, you've increased tax when you say you decreased it. And as much as people are in work, more of them are struggling than ever and having to rely on food banks. And I don't think a Labour government has a solution for this either, by the way. I think this is a problem we're all going to have to ride out. One that's going to hurt everyone. There's no version of this when we get out of this in one piece. In any sense of the imagination. Boris did fail at the end, but he only failed because he fobbed off things that should have been taken seriously immediately. Because he's always had this thing, and he did it in PMQs, where he would say he's focusing on the main issue and that this is trivial. The Chris Pincher thing was not trivial. It was very serious, and the party handled it, yes. But when you were held accountable in a committee and in PMQs, you fobbed it off to brag about what you accomplished, or what you were doing to accomplish. But the moment you lost nearly every single person in your front bench, you were fucked. He's now resigned as Conservative leader as well, so a leadership election will take place. Now, people don't understand this. In our country, we don't vote a leader. We vote the party. The largest majority is in office, and while the fixed parliament law, whatever it's called, fixed term parliament law, whatever it's called, isn't absolute anymore, parliaments run for 5 years. Conservatives have been in since 2019. They have until 2024, when a general election will be called, as is mandated. So whoever takes over, while they won't have what others say is a mandate, they will in fact have the party's mandate from 2019. They also know if they call an election now, they will lose. They need time for this new leader to step up and try and repair some of this damage if they can. And realistically, you look at the party as they are, I can think of one person who might be all right, two people who are, let's say, safe, and a third who's an absolute wild card. Because he's so smarmy, I don't see him winning. But if he did, it would be very interesting. So the safe bet would be for the deputy leader to take over temporarily, Dominic Raab. He's boring, but he is very much... He's just there. He's present. He hasn't got much personality.
Now, the thing about Dominic Raab, though, he said that he will not run.
So that's good. That makes it easier then, because then the safer bets would be Priti Patel and Sajid Javid. Right? Because, first of all, we've never had in this country a prime minister who is of a ethnic minority. In the case of Sajid Javid, he is the best one. No offense to Priti Patel, but Conservative female leaders have never done very well beyond Maggie, and she got stabbed in the back by her own part in the end. And the wild card would be Michael Gove, the Sneck, because
him too. He also ruled himself out.
Then, in that case, the only other person I can think of that could who would also probably ruled himself out would be Jeremy Hunt.
So I looked this up because I remember seeing an article on this. That's why I pulled up
I'm
the
glad
article.
you did, because I didn't.
That's all right. This is from the Telegraph.
Yeah.
And it said the line at the very beginning says Boris Johnson's resignation announcement fired the starting gun on the race to succeed him, with Ben Wallace, the defense secretary, emerging as an early frontrunner in a crowded field.
Okay.
I hear people hate him.
Okay. So
I'm asking you about that.
So we have okay, I've got names here. Jeremy Hunt is considering launching one. You got the Attorney General Suella Braverman, Tom Tugendhat, fuck knows who that is. He's the chair of the Commons Foreign Affairs Committee. Rishi Sunak, the former Chancellor. Do we have anyone else? Anyone else? I'm trying to see if I'm looking at a list here. I haven't got a list. I was hoping Priti Patel or Sajid Javid. Sajid Javid is the best one, I think, personally.
You know who Suella Braverman is?
I just mentioned her, the Attorney General.
Yeah, but do you know anything about her?
No, because I remember the guy before her, but I don't remember his name. I remember the guy before, and I felt bad for him when he got really emotional during Brexit stuff.
The Telegraph also mentioned Steve Baker, a former RAF engineer.
No idea who it is.
He's an outsider with literal ministerial experience. He's hinted that he will run in order to give the right of the party a broader...
Do you remember, in a party poll, Ben Wallace was listed pretty high. Sajid Javid, though, has great odds. He's 10-1. Liz Truss... Oh, no, Liz Truss is 8-1, but I don't think she's down. 9-2 for Rishi. Ben Wallace is 5-2. Penny Mordaunt, no. Nadeem Zahawi, no. Jeremy Hunt, no. Okay, so Hancock, Cleverly, Gove, Raab, they've ruled themselves out. Okay, well, I've got ad block on, so I can't see more of this article. Fuck off. I think if Sajid Javid runs, he'll win, because he's the best option, really, for them. Mostly because the Labour can't use a lot of the, let's say, more progressive rhetoric with him. It doesn't work with him. And that sort of thwarts them in one very key area. Also, he's not the worst politician. He really isn't. But they don't have the most... Boris, to me, you always knew he was going to be PM. But we didn't realise just how... because he's always been... He's just, he was such a character, and I wanted him to be Prime Minister. I really did. But man, he fucked this one up. People are talking more about the fact they spent £200,000 refurbishing the flat they lived in above number 11 Downing Street. And just give it some context here. They spent 15 grand on sofas, 7 grand on a rug, several thousand on wallpaper. By the way, that was gold wallpaper. What the fuck is wrong with you? The entire drawing room alone cost 78 grand to do up. The whole place cost over 200,000. You got to be nuts, haven't you? To spend that kind of money on that, and you're there for 2.5 years. Whoever moves in there next is going to rip that shit out in no time.
So I want to ask you: do you think that the UK is heading for a recession?
Oh, we're already in a recession. Everyone's already said it.
Well, so, I mean, I presume that's true.
Everyone's accepted with the inflation the way it is and the growth being as low as it is, that we're already in a recession.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's going to reveal itself, but do you think that with the second quarter report that will come out, I believe, in a couple weeks, or maybe 1 or 2, that you guys are going to see the big R word, as everybody has been mentioning. And do you think that is going to have an impact on who gets this position as prime minister, or do you think it's going to impact them once they get there?
It doesn't matter. Whoever's in office, it's going to ruin them, unless they find a way to get the economy growing again. The faith has always been placed in employment, and that's not working right now. It's not yielding that return that they thought they'd get.
Mm-hmm. Now, I guess the other question that I have for you is, do you know how much the UK is spending on Ukraine at the moment?
We've spent tens of billions.
Because something that I was a little shocked to hear. So we've, as the United States, we have provided them billions upon billions of dollars worth in supplies, in ammo, in resources, in launchers, and I mean, you name it, we probably threw it at them. And the Ukraine is still requesting more stuff. At a certain point, I have started to become skeptical.
It's a little bit sus, isn't it? When their prime minister said, "I need 750 billion to rebuild my country," and that was 5 times their GDP. Yeah, people were very sus about this because it's a very unusual request to ask for something so much higher than what you make.
Not only that, but I'm starting to look at, like, okay, if we start crunching numbers, on how much dollar has been spent from all the different countries sending aid. I'm talking about people sending planes, ships, guns, ammo, all of that. We're going to turn Ukraine into a more armed country than Iran.
Based on their current usage, I doubt they have much left, though. But you have got you do raise a good point.
I don't know that.
That's true. We don't know that for certain, do we?
And Zelensky is doing this press thing. He's going all over the place. He did an exclusive interview with Wolf Blitzer of CNN recently, talking about how they're not only responding to attacks, but they're launching counterstrikes, obviously, to try and repel the Russians. But Zelensky also is not willing to cede any kind of ground to Russia at all. And most countries kind of accept this as a war of attrition. And even Joe Biden mentioned this in the speech that you kind of mentioned earlier before we started the stream, when he mentioned that we must preserve the liberal world order.
Yeah. Seems a bit strange to say liberal world order when Ukraine are not an overtly liberal nation.
Correct. And also, does that mean that outside of the liberal world order is Russia? Like, Russia is not in the liberal world order.
I would assume they've always said that, haven't they? That's always because everyone's considered Russia to be the outsider for generations. They've always been considered that nation that they're Marussia. They drink vodka. They're miserable.
Oh yeah, I mean, we crafted NATO specifically to spurn an entire country. I mean, at the time, it made sense.
And more countries are joining as well.
Yeah. But, okay, so Russia's the bad guy. I know some people have mentioned that China's also a bad guy.
They are, but they never got a Rocky film dedicated to them.
No, they didn't.
Not yet.
I believe they almost had a reboot of Red Sun, or...
I just want to see one more Rocky movie, and I want to see Rocky take on Tai Shandong. The guy's a 7'5" boxer. He's Chinese and he's fucking huge. All right, he's named after a mountain.
Fight Mad Dog.
He's named after a freaking mountain.
I want Mad Dog to show back up again. I wonder what happened to him.
I don't know. I never saw him. I never saw him after GTA San Andreas, I'm afraid.
You know who that is, right? Mad Dog Zhang Dong?
No, I'm afraid not.
So he's a UFC fighter who went on a spree, basically saying that Kung Fu is a lie and that it's it's overblown.
Or is it?
And absolutely. And he went on a bunch of fight tours, and he was the one who lost his social credit for basically disparaging Chinese heritage.
Did
he? Mm-hmm. And after the COVID thing, I have not heard anything about him in quite some time.
Damn.
Some people actually said that he had gone missing. I wonder if that's still true. Let's see. He's got a YouTube channel.
Oh, God. Oh, did he? Oh, no, you're talking about the fighter who took on everyone and he kept getting banned by the Chinese government.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dan Killer did a video on him.
Yes, he did. But I don't remember seeing anything about him ever since COVID hit. Now that I think about it. But
already
anyway,
banned again.
Maybe. But anyway, the reason I bring up all these questions is because I'm looking at us doing this spending, right? We're throwing money out there. As I mentioned at the very start of the stream, we just sent, I think it was several million barrels of oil to Europe from our strategic reserve, which is technically a misuse of the purpose of that thing. It's intended to keep us afloat during wartime. This is not that.
Maybe they're arguing that that's what it is, and that's a semantics argument for them.
Well, that leads into the question. Okay, so we've sent billions upon billions of dollars to Ukraine. Many countries have declared that we are in a war, if not a proxy war. Does that mean that our effect on that edge of the country is American interest completely? Is it just us? Is it just the West? Is it actually Ukraine fighting its own battles, or are we using them as pawns in a giant chess game?
Pawns. Well, it depends. Well, Ukraine, they export a lot of food to the rest of Europe, so it could be strategic.
True. I mean, probably. We have interests, certainly, and that's what they'll say on the news, is U.S. foreign interest, the West's foreign interest in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
But I worry that this is more than just foreign interests in food, but it's also a strategic military idea, because Russia and China, I mean, we just lost Shinzo Abe, right? The former prime minister of Japan. And he was a major Western player, right? He was really, he worked well with Trump. He worked well with the West. He wanted a strong and prosperous Japan, which was awesome. I have nothing but praise to say about the guy. But we just lost him to somebody. I guess the investigation will lead into, the explanation of the interests regarding that. Okay, so now we have to worry that one of our major allies against China has just lost one of its major leaders.
Yeah.
So we need to if we were going to think strategically, like as the U.S., let's pretend this is all a game of Civ real quick. I need to shore up that entire region now, because I lost one of my biggest political players that could sway interests against the two major powerhouses that I'm actually concerned about, which is Russia and China. Ukraine is a great way to distract and also prevent Russia from moving in any way that I would want. Because it means that all their resources are being directed at a place that I'm just sending all my extra shit to. And I can focus more on China because I'm letting Zelensky and the Ukrainians do all the dirty work. I saw an article. They were like, "Oh, Chinese weapons are advancing 5 times faster than the United States." And I go, maybe that's a problem. What do we do about that? Well, the answer would be shore up the region and make sure they can't use it.
It's reasonable.
So, and then we have the major problem with this plan is the United States and the West is currently all engaged in that recession that I had mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So we cannot shore up our home and strengthen that while we are in this recession. But likely all of our leaders are focused on foreign interest. So we have not seen a whole lot of strengthening our own country. I mean, I'll ask you, do you have any issues right now bringing in migrants or asylum seekers from other countries? Not
Well,
including Ukraine?
yes, because none of them can come in. Ukraine's been prioritized.
Right. So, okay, we have a major crisis going on right now. In fact, there are several counties in Texas that have straight up declared an invasion of their county. Like a U.S. invasion is what they believe it to be because of the sheer amount of people. Texas has not, as a state, acknowledged it, and the Attorney General doesn't want to get involved. But the U.S. government is not protecting the border right now.
Oh, they haven't been doing that for years, though, have they?
No. So I'm wondering if, okay, so we're doing all this focus elsewhere, and we're not shoring up our own home. So we're going to spend a whole lot with the promise of, I presume, spoils of war.
Yeah.
And I think that's the end goal, is that we're going to somehow win out somewhere, whether that be an all-out war against Russia from Ukraine and Poland and NATO, which is why we're adding more countries, or we can last out the war of attrition and then basically put Ukraine under the thumb of the West and say, you owe us tens of billions of dollars. Because I know how scummy our politicians are.
Oh, they're definitely scummy. Personal interest and all that.
Mm-hmm. So, with a new prime minister coming into the United Kingdom, do you expect that, given this geopolitical situation, that Ben Wallace is just going to happen to acquire the prime ministership?
Don't know, actually. I'm not too sure.
He's former defense secretary, so that would make a lot of sense.
It does. But the way these elections work is generally a popularity of some kind. So I'm not entirely sure.
They have been discussing in our country what the probability or the possibility is for 2024. They're not really even considering 2022 at the moment. They'll mention it, but they're not really trying too hard, I don't think. But in 2024, a lot of people are talking about who is going to run. They mentioned Ron DeSantis very highly. On the Democrat side, the Democrats do not trust Biden. They are fully aware that he is not only a lame duck president, but almost a fucking liability at this point. His approval ratings is about 36%.
How is that guy still alive at this point?
I don't know how he's still cogent and actually operating. I'm surprised that even Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi have not tried to shore up their own political futures by taking over for Biden. Probably because they don't want to be responsible for the shitstorm that is currently going on. But there have been comments abound about a return of a former Secretary of State potentially taking up the reins of the Democratic Party once again.
Life support from the lizard people. Fucks it. Yeah, it's accurate.
Yeah. Yes, the blood of the children. As much as I hate to admit, the next U.S. president will not be a Democrat. I certainly hope not. And it's not even for policy points of view. It's because I can't think. Maybe the chat can help me, but I cannot think of the last time we had a wartime Democratic president that succeeded.
Does that exist?
Well, I'm trying to think. So we had Dwight Eisenhower in World War II. He was, I think, a Republican.
Really?
Truman was a Democrat, and he was the last one to appoint a Supreme Court judge as a Democrat. Oh no. Yes. But I don't think because we had Vietnam, which I think was Carter and Reagan.
Okay.
We had the Cold War, which was Reagan. Korea, Afghanistan. I mean, I can't say that we had very good Republican presidents in wartime now that I think about it either, ever since World War II. But at least with Trump, that we had started the plan to remove people from Afghanistan, so at least there's that. But likely to what Michael says in the chat, I think that the country is going to lean more Republican in times of struggle.
Really?
Yeah, I think ever since FDR. So FDR was the one who is attributed for a lot of the changes that pulled the United States up out of the Depression. But there are some comments that could be made that he wasn't responsible for all of it, and that some of the stuff that he introduced actually hurt. But a lot of Democrats will credit him for a major economic boom underneath him. And he introduced a whole lot of social programs. Chaos. You show off in your history, it hurts. I don't care. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen, so I'm quite happy to sit back and wait. I'm sure Trups is too. We have reached the end, I'm afraid, though, sadly. My voice is starting to go anyway, so I can't really talk too much more. Is there anything you'd like to promote?
Not really, no. I've been mostly filling for time.
I was wondering, because I was running out of...
I just started saying words.
I was kind of screwed. My voice wouldn't let me go anymore.
That's all right. I didn't want to necessarily cut it early, but yeah.
All good.
Don't worry, guys. If you want an actual historical relevance, wait till I actually script shit. I actually look things up then.
Stick around. You might be there somewhere someday.
Nah.
Fair enough. Anyway, as we're done, thank you all for joining. Unless Trups isn't here next week, we shall be back on Friday.
I should be here.
All right. Thank you all for joining. And we will see you next week. Say good night, Trups.
Good night, Trups.
Good night, Trups.